Good evening and welcome to my streamiversary. Today, today we are celebrating 5 years of the Uncle Eevee channel, and to be fair, Eevee as the character has not really ever been featured on the channel in 5 years. So, long time due, we're going to celebrate Eevee tonight because Eevee is sort of who the channel's named after. I'll explain in a minute. And has not been properly celebrated on this channel before. Now, I say in the description of this video, of the stream, that Eevee is the channel mascot, which Eevee has always kind of unofficially been the mascot, but never really acknowledged as such. On previous Star Wars themed streams, I mentioned my Galaxy's Edge droid, R3 Eevee, is the channel mascot. He's also kind of a side mascot, but he would not exist with that name, at least. He would still probably exist, but he would have a different name if not for the channel being named Uncle Eevee. Let's get the camera on so we can at least look at Eevee while I talk for a few minutes. So, the name Uncle Eevee is the result of a rebranding I did a few years before I actually started streaming. Through a good chunk of my internet life, starting in the second half of high school and continuing through about 15 years or so, I had a different online persona, a different name that I used for everything. But when I discovered Twitch, I was first a viewer for a couple years before I decided to be a streamer. But when I became a viewer on Twitch, I knew I wanted to try streaming eventually. So I decided to rebrand, and I moved away from that original online name, which, of the many, many accounts that name has been used with on many websites and many games, only a couple of those accounts still exist. Only a couple of those services I'm still subscribed to. So there's a very few legacy systems I still use the old name on. But Uncle Eevee it's been since the year I got sick. So here we are. Had now channel name. Coming up with the name, well, I was thinking, what's a cool character that I want to name the channel after? Because actually, my original name was also named after a fantasy character from a movie I barely remember that I was a fan of many years ago, but I don't really remember it now. I gotta watch it again. But it was a modified version of one of the characters' names in that, in order to get it past the no real characters filter on the very first game I used that name for, which happened to be the original EverQuest way back in 2002. So, yeah, I'm internet old. So, anyway, back to the story of Uncle Eevee. Well, my nephews and I were collecting Pokemon cards at that time. We were involved in the local league at a really cool shop where the first floor of the shop was comic books, and the second floor of the shop was tabletop games, including board games, TCGs, and war games. And it was a really cool shop, and I think they're still there, but with a different management. The league disbanded after COVID, from what I heard. So I was collecting trading cards for the Pokemon cards for a while, and Eevee was always my favorite Pokemon. My name is Evan, and the first two letters are E and V, but that has nothing to do with the reason why Eevee is my favorite Pokemon. Eevee just is and always was, since I was first introduced to Pokemon way back in when it first came out when I was still in school, so many, many, many years ago. And Eevee was one of the original 151, along with the first three evolutions, and it's gotten 5 more evolutions since then. So now there's 9 members of the Eevee family now. But yeah, Eevee was always my favorite Pokemon. It has nothing to do with my name. Some people think it does. It's just a coincidence. So you can imagine my surprise to find when I was signing up for Twitch and it said, "What's your username?" And I was surprised to find the name was available, because Eevee is there's millions of Pokemon fans around the world, and Eevee is considered to be one of the top 20 most well-known and famous and popular Pokemon. Eevee might even be top 10 of the most popular Pokemon, up there with Pikachu, Mewtwo, Charizard, Gyarados, Jigglypuff, the starters, Lucario, Gardevoir's up there. There's a bunch of Pokemon that would be considered top 20 material, but Eevee is consistently in like the top 10. So I was surprised to see anything with the name Eevee would be available, because at the time I was rebranding, the Pokemon was celebrating the 20th anniversary. This year they're celebrating the 30th anniversary. Wow, no, they had just done the 20th, because this was 2017 or 2018 when I was rebranding. So, it would have been the 21st or the 22nd. But they had just done the big anniversary set, Evolutions. A set that ironically did not have any Eevee or Evolution cards, considering that Eevee is the Pokemon whose whole gimmick is Evolutions. So the fact that the Pokemon set the card set called Evolutions didn't have any Evolution, but it was meant to be kind of a base set reprint. And Eevee and the first three Evolutions didn't appear till the first expansion, Jungle, way back when. So that's why there were no Eevees in the set about Evolution. But again, I'm going off on a tangent. We'll talk about trading cards later on in the stream. So the fact that Eevee is one of the top 10 most popular Pokemon amongst millions of fans, coupled with the fact that there's a lot of people named Uncle, or with the title of Uncle, like almost the majority of adult guys are uncles. So the fact that the particular combination Uncle Eevee was available without having to quantify with numbers or other words, that was a big surprise and a big boost, and I grabbed it. So that's how the name Uncle Eevee came to be. And now we can finally celebrate the channel mascot in a way that is fitting on this channel. You know, Lego's the main thing I've been doing the past couple of years. And Lego finally put out their first couple Pokemon sets. They only put out 3 so far. The big one is $650. It's Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur. Not getting that one. There's no budget for it. It does look cool. Maybe if I win the lottery, I'll get that one. There's also a $200 Pikachu. I do plan to get that one, but it's part of the long-term plan. I have other sets on the list ahead of it. I'm trying to prioritize the stuff that's retiring this year before I go for the stuff that came out this year. And then, of course, Eevee. And when I saw that Eevee was going to be the smallest and cheapest of the first 3 releases, I jumped on the back order for this one. There's no way I wasn't getting Eevee on release because, you know, channel mascot. And here we are, and we finally get to build a Lego Eevee for my collection of brick-built Lego animals. And then when we're done building Lego Eevee, we'll talk about the trading card side of the Eevee. And really, that's all I have. I used to have a collection of Eevee and Evolution plushes, but I don't really do plushies anymore. I got rid of them a few years ago. And by that, I mean I sold them. I don't throw things out. I sold all my plushies a few years ago. So that's where we are. My Eevee collection is really just the Lego and the trading cards I'm going to show you later. I've been talking a lot, and the cuteness is wanting to be built. So let's get this box open and get started. So here's the box, front of the box. As you can see, it's kind of a minimalist design. Apparently, we're supposed to get some playset scale Pokemon sets over the summer, and a lot more Pokemon will be introduced into Lego. Right now, we only have the 5 characters in the 3 sets. There's also a gift with purchase promo set. That's the Gen 1 Kanto region badges. And then also an insider promo. You can get a micro-scale Pokemon Center. But in terms of characters, we just have the 5 for now, but we should be getting some smaller play scale versions of Pokemon characters over the summer. From what I heard, nothing's been officially revealed yet. So here's the front of the box, and then here's the back of the box. And from the back of the box, you can see some pictures showing that Eevee is posable. So we'll play around with the poses, and we'll pick a cute one for Eevee. I mean, I'll probably play with this one a lot more than most of my brick-built animals, honestly. This one's probably not going to see the storage boxes, except to just get assigned to one, honestly speaking. And I can see my keyboard is reflecting off the box, so let me just turn off the keyboard light real quick. Yeah, you can see those colors there reflecting off the box. So yeah, I just turned that off. There's nothing I can do about that big bright overhead light, but it's not really in the way from most angles. We'll see how the stream goes. So there's the back of the box, and now let's you can look at the front of the box while I open the push tabs back here. So we were actually at the big mall with the Legos, the mall that features the Lego store, a couple weeks ago for a family birthday. It was the baby's birthday. Why am I calling him a baby? He's 2 now. Anyway, so we met for dinner at the mall, and we went, and Shayna and Manny and I walked down to the Lego store, and they had all the new Star Wars Smart Play sets on display. They had the Pokemon sets on display, but they were sold out of Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise. They were sold out of the big set. They had a few of the Pikachus, but they had a whole army of the of Eevee lined up in the boxes ready to go. They had a whole shelf of Eevee. Let's see, how many bags? I see bags go up to 6. We have 6 numbered bags here. So let me get these organized. And these are the new paper bags that you've been seeing in LEGO sets this year. Most of the LEGO sets in my build queue are from previous years and will still have the paper bags. But most of the new sets this year, they're finally doing the paper bags that they've been talking about upgrading to for years. This is for being more environmentally friendly. But it also makes it a bit harder to open the bags, because now, instead of being able to see if you left pieces behind, you actually have to feel out each and every bag as you open it to make sure you didn't leave pieces behind, because you can't see through them anymore. We have a nice little instruction book. You know what we do with these. Let me get things set over here. Oh, I didn't. It's not lined up quite precisely. That could be an issue in building. There we go. So now we have our instruction book ready. Let's go ahead and open up the instructions. We have bag 1 ready to go as soon as the instructions tell us to do so. Oh, we have a little white bar on this. Oh, that's cool. We have a Pokédex page. I was not expecting this, but it's really cool. So it says Eevee evolution. Okay, so that's how it appeared way back in the Generation 1 on the original monochrome Game Boy. It says this is the Pokemon Yellow version of the Pokédex entry. Its genetic code is unstable, so it could evolve it. Okay, so that just shows us how it appeared on the original Game Boy. And here we can see the official Pokédex entry, Eevee. It's Pokemon number 133 on the National Pokédex number. Its ability to evolve into many forms allows it to adapt smoothly and perfectly to any environment. As I've mentioned before, Eevee has 8 different evolutions. None of them are in Pokemon yet, but we'll be seeing some of them. We'll be seeing all of them when we go into the trading card collection later. The cat, okay. So yeah, and there's some other information on the Pokedex if you want to pause and read. Okay, and here's Lego specs. This shows the piece count to be 587. So approximately the number of Pokemon there were after Generation 5-ish. Let me look that up real quick. How many total Pokemon were there when Generation 5 Black and White released? $649. So this 587 piece count falls between the number of Pokemon there were right after Generation 4 and the number of Pokemon there were on Generation 5. So that number does not hold significance. I thought it did, but my memory was off. So it says it has articulation in the head, ears, legs, and tail. So fully posable. Lego Pokemon Eevee is guaranteed to thrive with a devoted trainer like yourself. So it's cool that in addition to the traditional Pokedex entry, there's also an entry for the Lego version, also in Pokedex style. Alright, once a trainer, always a trainer. And this shows some of the characters playing with Eevee. And you can pause and read this if you want to. And this is talking about the trainer journey. And this one's showing off the two other bigger sets. You can see the $200 Pikachu as well as the $650 Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise. So here's a page about the evolutions. Alright, this is talking about Eevee, and you can see in the picture, the picture on the left shows Eevee with the original 3 Generation 1 evolutions, and the picture on the right shows the 5 other evolutions that came later. So you can see the whole Eevee family on this page. Pause it if you want to admire them some more. And here is here is another page about Lego Eevee, showing the model. And I can guarantee that pose does not work in real life because it's got nothing. It's not standing against anything. You can get similar poses though. And finally, we're getting into the instructions itself. And this page shows that we are getting a brick separator. So, and this one's in the rare turquoise color. Most sets give you an orange, but occasionally they give you a turquoise. There's also a very rare green color, which is only handed out by a Lego staff at certain events. It did appear in 2 sets that have both long since retired, but green is exceptionally rare. I did buy one just to have in my collection, but mostly my brick separator bag is orange with a handful of turquoise, and here we are. It says to open bag 1, so let's finally get into this. Like most brick-built animals, it's probably not going to look like much, the first bag. The first bag is probably just the body. And then I'm assuming one bag's going to be the tail, one bag's going to be the legs, and then a bag for the head. But that's only 4 bags. So maybe it's 2 bags. Well, we'll see how it goes. I'm not even going to try and predict because the math isn't mathing quite exactly. Oh, there's an inner bag too. And here's a separator ready to go if we need it. What's funny is, even though orange is the more common color of the brick separator, I actually had 2 sets My first two sets, which came with brick separators, came with the turquoise one. So I had two turquoise before I had my first orange. But the orange do considerably outnumber the turquoise now. And now we are finally making the first connection. The first little piece of Eevee. Wow, I've been talking for like 20 minutes. But you know, it's a streamiversary. It's a special stream, so I can talk and blab if I want when it's of course, now I'm probably going to run out of things to talk about during a stream now. I was thinking about doing a split stream Eevee and then something with Morrowind, because my channel exists because of Morrowind. But I'm actually going to... I don't have Morrowind set up in the new house yet, so what I'm actually going to try and do is I'm going to try and set up something with Morrowind during the day tomorrow so that I can stream. Maybe I'll do a... Tuesday is St. Patty's Day, so maybe I'll do a Morrowind bar crawl or something tomorrow. We'll see. And that way I can celebrate Morrowind's old importance on this channel. Of course, I haven't played much in the past couple of years since the inter-county move. But I do want to get back into it. So, since I don't drink, I can't really think of anything special to do for St. Patty's Day. So, the obvious choice would just be to do a Morrowind bar crawl. I think I've done one on the channel before, but that was years ago, so... I'll think of something during the day tomorrow, I guess. So, where is that piece? There it is. Yeah. And now that I'm focused on building, I seem to have temporarily run out of stuff to talk about. There's a lot to say about Eevee. The only mainline games I played were Red, Blue, way back when it first came out. I'm not really interested in RPG style games, but I've always liked the franchise, and I haven't watched the anime either. But even though didn't really participate in the anime or the games or even the trading cards until my nephews got me into the cards, I still always had an awareness of the Pokemon, because I've always thought I always thought it was an interesting media franchise, and I've always wanted to get into it in some capacity. Other than the trading cards, and I was really more of a collector. I never really got into the game itself. I did have one really cool deck. My deck did not feature evolutions, though. The deck I made was late XY, early Sun Moon era, and it was a deck called Fluid Motion, which used a lot of water types and moving things around, and it proved to be really tricky to play against. But then all the cards that powered the engine of the deck rotated out and became retired, so I couldn't play that strategy anymore. So, And after the league disbanded with COVID, and I was sick and wasn't doing things anymore, and things kind of fell off. And my nephews had stopped collecting by that point, so that's why I left the cards. And I sold out my card collection, but I have since restarted just the Eevee book. I'm only collecting the Eevee and Evolution cards. Well, we'll talk about that when we get to it. Right now, we're focusing on the Lego side of things. Bags 2 and 3 look pretty small, so um, I think we're going to breeze through those 2 bags once we get there. 4, 5, and 6 looks relatively substantial, though. Okay, here's our first big joint piece. Well, we have joint sockets, 4 of them on the body already. And then we have this big ball joint that's going to go up here. That's got to be where the head's going to attach. I'm assuming based on the shaping. Looks like we don't have too far left to go in bag 1. It's coming together pretty quickly. So yeah, my revised prediction is bag 1 is the body, based on how small 2 and 3 are. They're probably legs. Bag 4 is probably going to be the fur around the neck. Bag 5 is probably going to be the back legs, and then bag 6 is probably going to be the head. With brick-built animals, they usually do the head last. That's just a prediction, though. We'll see how it turns out, the build process. But after having done several Lego animals, that's how things generally progress. So we'll see if my prediction is right or not. It really doesn't matter, because at the end, we're still going to have a complete Eevee. Even if the exact order of body parts is not what I said. That's these we need to put in here. And then these big ones. That's how that goes, okay. Well, I've got the front section of the fur, but it does look like some's going to go over where the legs attach, so maybe. Alright, so, that was a spare bit, so it really doesn't matter if I get to it now or after stream. I'm not seeing it. Okay, let's just move on then, because that was a spare bit. So after the first bag, this is what we have so far. You can kind of start to recognize the neck fur, and the rest of it is still not quite recognizable yet. Let's open bag 2 and keep going. Okay, so the inset picture looks like a leg shape. So I was correct in that bag 2 is in fact at least one of the legs. Okay, and here's another big joint piece. Oh, cool. So yeah, this is going to be one of the legs because I can see the printed toes on this piece that we're adding. The first of several printed parts in this set. I'll show you in a moment. Just as soon as I get this little assembly together. You can see there the printed toes on the front of this piece here. That's going to be the foot. So there's going to be four of these little pieces, I think. But obviously I'm not going to close up on all four because you can see with this one what all 4 feet are going to look like. And this leg will attach right there. Let me just... So actually, most of the visible substance of the body is going to be through the legs, it looks like. But yeah, you can see these off-colored parts that aren't covered up yet. So right there in the top of the leg. So the neck fur is going to cover that up. So it looks like bag 2 is just this leg and its cover and its fur cover, and then bag 3 is going to be the leg for the other side and its fur color, and then bag 4, 5, and 6 will be the other legs, the tail, and the head in some order. That's my prediction at this point. Although, it looks like there's a matching array of parts for the other leg here. Maybe the head is 2 bags because it's so substantial. When you build Lego, you gotta make sure everything's pushed in securely, so less of a chance of it falling apart in your hands later. I'm not sure why this piece is not pressing in securely, but there, I got it. Okay, this whole section goes over like this. And some more fur to go over the leg area is oh, and the leg still moves even with all the stuff covering it. So that's pretty cool. And this covers up the those off-colored pieces. Okay, so that's what the whole assembly looks like with the leg and the fur over it. Now we just have to do all that same stuff for the other side. And bag 2 actually proved to be a lot more substantial than it looked based on its size compared to the other bags. And with that, we have the other leg attached. And now we can actually stand the body up to work on it. And now we can build those the fur cover for this side. And then it'll be time for bag 3. Let's make sure I'm putting this together correctly. And of course, I'm going to get a pop-up ad. Let me get rid of this real quick. All right, let's keep going. Oof, I'm breaking things. All right, that goes on. And we're just about at the 1 hour mark of stream. And we're slightly less than halfway done with the build. All right, so here's what we have so far. You can see the fur collar is done, and the front feet are done. And now we just got to build the rest of him. Bag 3. So it looks like bag 3 is going to be the back legs. There's an interesting new piece. Let's see which way. So there's a print for the bottom of the foot here. I'll show you when the foot itself is assembled. So yeah, the back legs are a little bit bulkier than the front legs. That's normal in most animals. So there's that little printed piece there on the back of the leg. We're going to do a stretch after this bag, but probably not a full break. I'm missing a yellow plate. Let me check and make sure it didn't get caught up in the bag. It would have been bag 3. Let me make sure nothing fell out in the box itself. Nothing's in the bag. Did it go on the floor when we were dumping parts? Yeah, I see it. It went on the floor while we were dumping parts. No missing piece today so far. I did have that happen in one Lego set once, actually. That was a set I did off stream, thankfully. So stream wasn't ruined or anything. So I did the customer service thing. I selected the missing parts, and a month later they sent me the missing parts from that set. So we are good to finish this thing now, I think. And here's the last foot. And since I got up to get the piece, that counted as the stretching break I was going to take. So let's just move on to bag 4. And now he has all his legs. And I just have to add this piece on. I don't really want to try to pose him until we are done with the build, and then we can make a really cool pose. But for now, let's just stand him up. So here's what we have so far. We have about 80 pages left in the instructions to build up the tail and the head, but the body and legs are done, and he's got some substantial weight already. Bag 4. And I didn't comment on this earlier, but you can see in the parts pile some orange, azure, blue, and yellow. These represent, these colors for the internal parts that are going to be covered and not visible represent the original 3 Generation 1 Eeveelutions that debuted with Eevee itself all those years ago. Flareon, the fire type, Vaporeon, the water type, and Jolteon, the electric type. The later Eeveelutions, they have other colors, not seen yet. So it looks like bag 4 is going to be the tail assembly. Caught that. Didn't go off the table. So let's go ahead and get right back into the build. Yeah, that inset picture, this tail looks like it's going to be pretty bulky. Which is good, because that's accurate. And another big joints assembly here. tail's coming together pretty quickly. So now it looks like we're just filling in the surface texture for the tail, and then it'll be time to start building Eevee's head, which is of course the most important part. And now we just gotta finish up the surface texture for the other side. And then the tail will be done. Let's make sure I'm doing everything. I'm putting everything together in the correct positions. almost done here. Just a few more pieces for the tail here. Eevee's got one of the biggest, prettiest tails in all of Pokemon. So that closes that up, and then it'll attach to the back. And this tail's got a lot of weight to it. So the joint there, that's one of the very big ratchet joints. Hopefully it will hold the weight. Well, I know it will hold the weight because that's why they use the big joint. Lego has several joint sizes, and that's one of the strongest there. But the Transformers sets, they have an even stronger joint type because those have to do weird, complex transformations. Anyway, so tail's big, got a lot of texture and shaping going on. Let's attach it here to the back. And yeah, the tail can be posed in several ways. You can move it left and right. It doesn't look like it has up and down, but you can adjust the pose with the legs to put in different positions up and down, I guess. But as left and right, and also to the side. So yeah. Eevee's coming along. We just gotta do the head now. So it looks like 5 is going to be the bulk of the head, and then 6 is probably going to be the face and details of the head. And I can see a lot more of the orange, blue, and yellow. Now let's bring this towards the back a bit so that it's kind of out of the way. And let's try and keep the action where you can see it. So we can see some more of the orange, blue, and yellow internal pieces here. Again, for the representing the first 3 evolutions from the original, from Generation 1. we're at an hour and a half, and we're working on, well, we're working on the head, so Eevee will be done soonish. And then we'll look at cards for the second part of stream. We probably will take a, no, we definitely will take a bio break after finishing the Lego, though, before we get into the cards. So what we're doing now is the structural core of the head, and then the final bag will probably be the details of the head. But because the head's so big and this thing is posable, it needs a big, strong structural core. So I guess that's why we have a little bit of Technic inside, because this Technic does not represent moving parts. There is a joint socket hanging out from this, though, so that part probably does represent that looks like that's where it's going to connect to the neck. But yeah, there's a lot going into this head assembly. More than your average Lego brick-built animal. Which is good, because it allows for shaping and detail. And okay, that little joint bit there, I think that's where the ear is going to clip on. Okay, so this lines up like this. Yeah, so that all lines up like that. We'll be at just over the 2-hour mark when we finish the Lego portion, which is about expected because I talked a lot at the beginning before we actually started the build. I had a longer talk than I usually do at the beginning of stream. We're probably not going to spend as much time talking about cards as we did on the Lego. I just want to make sure we're properly celebrating the character of Eevee. So we're doing some stuff. We're doing a little bit of talk on the card collection. So we've got the core of the head here, and we're going to go into the last bag and we're going to make this actually look like an Eevee head. Right now it looks like it's just structure, but we'll fill it in, and pretty soon we'll have a cute looking Eevee ready to play. One of the best parts about this set, no stickers. All the bits are printed. So it looks like the first bit of bag 6 is the faceplate that's going to go over this head structure. So let's get right onto it. Ah, here's the step that all the reviewers were talking about. You can see there's little half-round tiles that we're putting around this little assembly here. One tile for each of the evolutions. I will show them off in a moment once I get them all placed on. So, there's 8 differently colored half-round tiles here that are going to be covered over. These don't do anything structurally for the build. They just represent the colors of the 8 evolutions. We have Glaceon, the ice type, Leafeon, the grass type, Umbreon is shadow dark, Espeon is psychic, Sylveon is fairy, Flareon is fire, Jolteon is electric, and Vaporeon is water. And that's what these 8 tiles represent, is the 8 possible evolutions. Now let's proceed with finishing up the build here. And then when we finish Eevee, we're going to take a very quick bio break. We'll come back and we'll talk about cards for a while. And I'll show off the progress of my Eevee book. And we'll talk about why it's not any farther done than it is. Because there's issues with finishing an Eevee book these days. That's putting it mildly. Definitely taking a break when we finish this, because I need water and I need to stretch. And there's a printed tile, or not a tile, a printed slope for the mouth there. Oh, the piano finally got moved to the house, so my paintings need to go up. So I fast tracked the other Lego painting I want to get. We should be streaming that one within the next week or two, so I can get my paintings up behind the piano. I'm talking about the big piano upstairs. I don't have plans to put paintings behind the pianos down here, the keyboard down here. And then there's a printed nose on this tile. You can see the nose right above the mouth there. And now we're putting in the eyes. All right, where is the other piece? There it is. And then this section will attach onto the other section. So this little faceplate here, it's big faceplate, I mean, it slides onto the head core like this and presses in. And there's the front of Eevee's head done. So cute, but it still won't be really, really cute until we finish it. So let's get the rest of it put together. Here. You guys can look at the cute head. Well, I gotta do stuff on it. If we go into another assembly, though, you guys can look at the cute head while I do the assembly. Little bits of slope bits giving fur texture right there on top of the head there. Still a lot of pieces left over to fill in the back of the head. So there's an assembly, so you guys can look at Eevee's face for a while. So cute. Anyway, let's keep going. So this all attaches. How exactly? So there's the fur texture. And there's that bit. So this bit goes up here, leaving slots for the ears. Yeah. And then we come down to this side here. We fill in the corners here. So we're basically building up around the neck socket now. And this just goes in to cover up the last little bit of the core. And all that's left visible from the core now is the area around the neck. So once we plug this into the body, that won't be visible either. That'll all be covered up too. You won't see those colors anymore. It says to put the head on the body. I'm not, but I think I want to do the ears and then attach the whole thing as a whole. No, we can put it on the body. We can follow the instructions. So let's line up the joint and boom. Eevee does look weird without its ears, I will say that. So let's go ahead and put the ears together. The ears aren't being done as a 2x, which means they're mirror symmetry, not identical. So we will have to go through this 2 times. Did I miss a step somewhere? I did. Okay. Easily fixed, though. There's one ear. Now we just got to build up the other ear. All right. That goes there. And then this ear will go on this side. And now Eevee is actually looking like Eevee. And we can then pose it. Well, that's... I didn't even notice that. The back of the instruction book... The back of the instruction book is usually just a generic Lego ad or whatever. But here, it's showing Eevee facing away and running away from the camera. Kind of like the Speed Champions does the back of the box. And then this page shows how you can do different poses. Let's go ahead and close the instructions. And let's clear the spare bits, which includes an extra copy of all the evolution colors. And of course our brick separator is now a spare. And here's our finished Eevee. Wow, and this thing's actually pretty heavy for its size. And yeah, the joints do seem strong enough. Yeah. This might be my favorite brick build animal so far in my collection. Are we counting the T-Rex skeleton? If we're not counting skeletons, then this is definitely my favorite brick build animal in my collection. Torque's up there. All the Avatar animals are up there, really. But Torque's up there. If we're counting skeletons, the T-Rex skeleton still probably has the most stage presence of all my brick-built animals so far. But it's definitely heavy for its size. It's definitely got some bulk going on here. The instructions did say something about its weight, if I remember correctly. Oh, it's a pound. It's like, well, technically 14 ounces according to the Pokedex entry in the front of the manual. So this is a whole pound of, almost a whole pound of Lego. If you count the packaging, it probably would be a whole pound. Definitely one of the cutest Lego sets I have. That's for sure. And it's probably only going in the bag just long enough to receive a storage box assignment for if we eventually move again. But this thing's staying out. I like this thing. It's not going to stay bagged for long. But standard procedure is all my sets do get a box assignment. So I do need to bag it, at least for that. Now, as for a pose, we can kind of have it doing kitty pose, sitting like that. That's kind of cute. Yeah. There's an... It's doing kitty pose right now. That's kind of cute. You can also do standing pose. There's not too much. You can do kind of a running pose. And I just knocked a bit of the texture off. Hold on. I just broke it. Yeah, so I actually pushed these legs too far back. Beyond the clearance of the texture here. So let me go ahead and fix that real quick. Okay, how'd this go? So yeah. It is good to test the limits of posability, because then you know what you can and can't do. So this isn't too big a setback. We're learning what we can do with this thing. So you can kind of have it do a running pose, but it's not as stable because you're just standing on toe tops if you do that. You can also have it doing the horse pose up like that, but it becomes top heavy if you do it like that, so probably not. So I think I'm just going to do a walking pose here. A 3-point walking pose, and maybe you can do a little, lift the fourth paw like that, like it's about to take another step. That does make it a little wobbly, so maybe you don't want to do that pose. Here's another nice pose you can do. So there are options. Now let's pick something and take a break. Here. Let's go back to kitty pose. It's not perfect kitty pose because you can't line it up exactly evenly. You can also... Oh, there is up and down on the tail. Okay then. And I knocked off another texture piece somewhere. All right. You can do up and down if you rotate to the side, so the tail is bulky enough that you can kind of fake it by doing that. All right. There's no up and down if you have it straight like that. But you kind of need the bulk of the tail to support that big heavy head, so you kind of need to use the tail as an extra leg. I'm just trying to find a pose that looks natural-ish so that we can go ahead and take our break. I think I'm going to go back to standing pose because I can't get the kitty pose to look just right. Well, I'm looking up so you can see is the full face. Yeah. That's cute like that. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We're exactly 2 hours into stream because I talked for about 10, 12 minutes at the beginning. So we're exactly 2 hours for the build. We're going to take a very quick break. I did just get a spammer. We're going to clear the spammer. And now we are going to take a very quick bio break. And we'll come back and we'll talk about Eevee, Pokemon cards. Well, we're going to specifically talk about Eevee and Eeveelution cards. So let's take a quick break and then I'll be back. Okay, so Pokemon cards is next. Like I mentioned before, I used to collect the trading cards, and while I was trying to get one of everything, a goal that never fully materialized, though I was making good progress with the current sets, other than the ultra rares. I was slow on getting those, but um, I tried to have like one of every card, and it was working out for a while. But the Eevee and the evolutions, I did a special book for, and then when my nephew stopped collecting, and the league stopped after a pandemic, and then I stopped collecting, and then I ended up selling the collection for emergency cash. After moving, I decided I would rebuild the Eevee book, but just the Eevee book, Eevee and the evolutions, and I wouldn't collect the other cards. Um, and as it turns out, so many of the cards have spiked in value since when I sold out the collection. So, eh, yeah, some of my favorite evolution cards are probably unobtainable now. So, well, I'll show you the book, current progress on the book. Let's get Eevee out of here for a moment, and I'll bring the book in. Here is my Eevee book. You can see I have protector sheets. The cards are inside sleeves that are inside the protector sheets. And I actually have these limited edition sleeves from a while ago. I used these sleeves when I used to collect for the original Eevee book. And I'm using them again for this iteration of the book. You can see from the pages here what I did with the cards. The regular cards are in the sleeves, and for cards that I don't have yet, I printed a black and white proxy as a placeholder so that I know where to put the card after I obtain it. So the way I did the book before is I just had energy cards and I wrote on them in marker what card goes there. But with the black and white pictographs, I can see at a glance what I still need and where it goes. So in this way, at least I have some version of the picture to me. This is the original Jungle Eevee. I'm not getting the Jungle Eevee for that slot. I want to get the Legendary Collection version because there's the Fireworks Hollow pattern that only existed in that one set. And that card, I think, is like $200 now, I think. All the Fireworks Hollows from that set are like really expensive because they only did it that one time, like 25 years ago. So as we go through the book, you can see some more. You can see for regular common cards, I like to get the reverse foil version because I like the book to be shiny. Of course, there's the Legendary Treasures shiny hollow radiant collection card. And in the original book, I used to have it full arts and specials, then hollows and regulars. Now I just put the cards in chronological order of release because otherwise to do it by how special the card is, I'd have to rearrange every section every time a new card gets released. So now I just have them in chronological order. You can see some holo promos. There's the GX promos they did. There's the full art GX promo. You can't really see these that well on camera. I'm just showing. I'm just doing my best to show them as they are. There's one proxy in particular. This card right here. It took me 2 years to find that for the original collection. I doubt I'm going to be able to find that one again. I'll do my best though. And here's the that's the shiny card, isn't it? Yeah. That's the from that one set. No, it wasn't Shining Legends. What set was it at the end of Sun Moon with all the shinies? Shining. I don't remember what it was called, but I remember that being a really sparkly card. So as we keep going, you can see some more. This page, somehow I have everything on this page. I think it's the only page that I have everything on. And then we get here. And this blank spot this is a card that's been released since I printed the proxies. So there is one blank spot there. And I think it's the only blank spot in the whole binder that I don't have a proxy for. And then, of course, we go to the evolutions, and you can see the older Espeon cards. I only have one on the first page. But then we turn the page, and I have a bunch, but I'm still missing a bunch. The evolutions are where things start to get really expensive, especially Umbreon, but we'll get to him in a bit. So there were the Espeons. You can see I'm still missing a lot. We're missing a lot of Flareons here. Flareon is one of the original three, so yeah. Right. I didn't get the hollows yet. So I'm just going to flip through these real quick. We're going into Glaceon now. And you can see here the back sides of the sleeves. This is how I block it off so that each evolution starts on a new page. And by new page, I mean a whole new I mean a whole new card sheet. I don't split front to back. So Flareon ends here, and there can be 17 more Flareon releases before I have to add a page before Glaceon here. Glaceon starts here. You can see here level X. Glaceon and Leafeon debuted in Generation 4. The big special cards in Generation 4 were level X. Glaceon and Leafeon were the only two evolutions to get level X cards at the time. So they're kind of unique. Here we're into Jolteon. You can see Lieutenant Surge's Jolteon. Jolteon was the only evolution to get one of the gym cards back in the original Wizards gym cards. So that's pretty cool there. Jolteon got a lot of attention. And then we go into Leafeon. Leafeon came out with Glaceon. I have the evolutions in alphabetic order, not release order. So now we go into Sylveon. And Sylveon's an interesting case because Sylveon came out when Fairy type was added to the Pokemon card game. But then, a few years ago when Sword and Shield came out, they decided there were too many types in... There were too many energy types in the game, and for balancing purposes, they took out Fairy type. So, all the Sylveon cards now they use Psychic to represent Fairy types within the card game. Their Fairy type is still in the video games. They still have like all 18 types in the video games, even though the card game is only 8 types now. No, it's still 9 types because there's Colorless, the 6 Classics, Dark and Metal. Yeah, it's 9 types now. Oh, and Dragon type, so yeah, there's still too many types in Pokemon, even with Fairy being downgraded to Psychic. And then we go into Umbreon, and you can see Umbreon. I only have one card from the first page, and that's not even the original version of the card. The original version of the card was non-holo. This was a special reprint they did as one of the seasonal special sets. The original card for this, not only is it not shiny, but damaged, it goes for $1,000. So, yeah. The Espeon one of this card never got reprinted, and I'll probably never own... I may have to proxy that card. And this is the black and white holo pattern. The black and white holo pattern with the lines here. This Umbreon card here, let me see. I can't really get it on camera. But the black and white holo pattern is my favorite of the holo patterns. And Umbreon is the only card in this entire binder, in this entire collection, that ever got that particular holo pattern. So this Umbreon is one of my favorites. Another Umbreon that's one of my favorites is this one, which I don't have the real card again of yet. That was one. That card was actually when I participated in games at League. I would actually, that was That was my luck charm, and I would set it next to me during games. And but I have not yet been able to replace that card. And you can see Umbreon still. A lot of the Umbreon cards are like hundreds of dollars because Umbreon's the most popular evolution apparently. And then we get to Vaporeon. And here, Vaporeon, I can show you something special as well. You can see I have both the holo and non-holo. Way back in the Wizards era, holo, there was, starting with Jungle and through the Wizard sets, up through Neo, which was Generation 2, they had both a holo version and a non-holo version of the rares, but they were numbered separately. And because they were numbered separately, I treated them as two different cards for binder purposes. The holo, I just got the holos from Wizard era. I'm just getting as straight holos because a lot of them are expensive. The non-holos from Wizards era, I'm trying to get in first edition format. I'm not trying for any first edition holos. Those are too expensive. Way too expensive. Because both holos and first editions, both those things make a Wizards card more expensive. Vaporeon, generally, is cheaper than the other original three. And then over here, we have the tag team cards that came out during Sun and Moon. Eevee and Snorlax, there's 4 versions of. Espeon and Deoxys, there's 2 versions of. Umbreon and Darkrai, there's 2 versions of. Gardevoir and Sylveon, there's 4 versions of. I'm not getting the tags until I finish the main collection, or I have the finish of the main collection to site. So that's how I do my Eevee book. And actually, I went through that a lot quicker than I anticipated, but that's because I can't really do this well on camera. Let's go to TCG Player and take a look at budgets. Let me move up and bring the browser back up. And actually, we're going to go full-on browser for this. So I've pulled up TCG Player. And this is TCG Player. It's an online marketplace for buying and collecting trading card games. And it's supposed to have my my login saved. Yeah. Alright, so now we're logged in. And I'm tracking here the cards I still need. So here you can see I've created a want list. Or I've created a tracking list for all the Eevee and Evolution cards. So you can see here, this is all the cards that are in the book or going into the book. There's halves, which are the ones in the book, and wants, which are the ones that I haven't bought yet. So if we filter out the halves and only look at the wants, we have 150 cards we need to finish the book. It looks like low price, I need like $22,000 to get every one of those cards. That's not happening, obviously. But are any of these cards actually still obtainable? 5 of the cards aren't even on the marketplace right now, including both level X's we discussed, and that one black and white promo Eevee that I mentioned took 2 years to get the first time. We have some cards that aren't going to be too terrible to get. And then, boom, look at this. We have most of the list is $50, $100, and then we have multiple cards that are $300 or more, and some that even get here into the thousands. So yeah, I can forget about actually finishing the Eevee book, but it's a long-term goal. And I'll try and get some more of the cards, because I do want to bring it closer to completion. But yeah, this is not looking good for the future of this collection. Not when my budget priority is on the Lego collection, so. But I will try and get at least a few of these until, and hopefully eventually I'll be able to get all of them, but for now. And then, now let's just get a closer look at just some of the Eevee arts. This is Proxy Croak. It's a site you can use to create proxies for testing deck building. And we can go to find cards, and you can type in the name of the Pokemon you want to see. So we can take a look here at all the arts, and I'm just going to scroll through these slowly. We're not going to do all the evolutions. I think I'm just going to call stream after we look at all the Eevee arts. And this just gives you a closer look at all the Eevee cards that are in the book. This is a fun holo. This is the very first Eevee promo holo card they did. And you can't really tell because of the holo in the scan. But the background is divided into 3 colors. There's a red section representing Flareon, a yellow section representing Jolteon, and a blue section representing Vaporeon. And this was back when there were only the first 3 evolutions. So this was a fun card. And this is actually the first Wizards era card in the current iteration of the book that I got. And then we keep going, and there's a lot more Eevees. This Eevee here was part of a box set when X and Y first came out. The first 7 evolutions, Flareon, Vaporeon, Jolteon, Umbreon, Espeon, Leafeon, and Glaceon, and Eevee all had cards in this style. And then Sylveon had a different art style for its card. This is the card I was talking about. Took 2 years to get, and I'll probably never see again. This is a fun one. Eevee playing soccer. This was one of 5 soccer cards they did as a promo in England. There was a Pikachu, and then I think the Sword and Shield starters. It wasn't the Sun and Moon starters. No, it was the Sword and Shield starters for that one. We talked about Surge's Eevee. Some more generic set Eevees going on here. I remember this used to be my signature card. I would, whenever we would open Sun and Moon packs, I would collect these, and then I would sign the card. And whenever I did a trade at League, I would give it to whoever I would give a copy of the signed card to whoever I was trading with. I don't do signed cards anymore. I generally don't trade anymore, just buy, because I just want the one copy of everything for the book. Here's a closer look at the Eevee and Snorlax tag team. I never had any of the tag cards. And here's a closer look at the Shining. Oh, that says I inserted into my deck. Oh, right, because we're on the proxy site. So when I go back, there will be a 3-letter code that will tell me what set it's actually from. So here's the 3 GX box promos. They're all the same stats. They're all the same attack. It's just the different artworks. This was one of the earliest art cards they did, where they brought in special artists to make full art promos. This predates the full art collection that you start seeing in all the Sword and Shield sets. But the first set, this was a promo card, and the first set to do those full arts was the last set of Sun Moon, when there was a subset of 12 cards of Pokemon with their trainers. And then we keep going, and we just see a few more Eevees here. Eevee's cute. And I know we just went on break, and I came back for like 15 minutes, and I really don't have too much to talk about with the cards. I showed you the state of my book. We looked at card prices, and we looked at all the Eevee arts. So I guess we're done for tonight. Let me let me put Eevee on view, and then we will pick. Let's see if there's anyone to raid. It's Sunday night, and I haven't had the best of luck with exit raids on Sunday nights, but let's see if anyone's out there in Twitch world. Do I not have that one correctly? I might not have that tile correctly. Yeah, I don't think I have this tile correctly. So let's adjust it real quick. And then I'll bring Eevee back on camera so we can set up the exit raid. Eevee can watch us set up the raid. How's that? Who do we have? Wolfie Starfire. Oh, she's a good show. We literally only have three musicians on right now. So we're going to try to raid Wolfie Starfire. This is not her normal time, so good she's here. And if they have raids blocked, I have two other choices as well. Alright, so this was a fun streamiversary. I'm glad that we finally got to give some attention to our channel mascot. Of course, we have a second channel mascot in our droid, R3 Eevee, who will be getting some attention when Star Wars Week comes up in a couple months. But for now, one of the cutest Lego sets in my collection. Have a good night, and I will see you soon. I'm not sure when, but I do need to start regular streams coming up so that we can be regular again. So yeah, I think I want to do something Morrowind for St. Patty's Day. So, alright. Alright, so the raid is successful. Oh, I mean successfully initiated. We're going to see Wolfie. Good music there. Have a good night. And we will see you soon.